Serious. Girls who have been guilted into going out with a nice guy? How did it go? Story 1. I'll never forget that nice guy. I had been homeless for 2 to 3 months and I said, screw it, and started working at a local strip club. I was able to make enough cash a week to finally get a place of my own. Instead, I wanted roommates so I could use the money to go back to school. I found some guys looking for a roommate and I was able to get in there with them. We all got along. We were all nerds. Me and first roommate got along great. Second roommate was very quiet and ignored me a lot. After the third month of living together, my second roommate was a complete creep. He would text me all the time, asking where I was and who I was with. He would tell me when he graduated, he was 2 semesters away, that we could get married and I would never have to strip again. And he texted me almost every day. I fell asleep once on the couch and this dude touched me while I was asleep. He kissed me without asking. He would constantly take my purse and put it in his room, so I had to talk to him and ask for my stuff. After about a month of that stuff, I sort of started sleeping somewhere else, at my boyfriend's house, or I just wouldn't go home and stay out until 9 a.m. I would work double shifts at the club, so 2 p.m. until 2 a.m., just so I wouldn't be at the apartment. I remember this one night I got out of work at 2 a.m. and decided to drive to the beach because I didn't want to go home yet. I'm halfway there when another club calls and asks if I want to work an after-hours shift. I say okay and head back. I leave at 5 a.m. from that club and head again to the beach to watch the sunrise. Now, I'm about to hit the bridge to get to the island and the creepy roommate calls me, tells me to come home, that I need to be home and safe, and that he really needs to talk to me. I hang up after I tell him I don't care and I don't like him. I call my other roommate and ask where the creepy roommate is. Nice roommate tells me he's just playing League of Legends. I flat outside and just hung up. Creepy roommate calls again and tells me he's going to kill himself if I don't go home to him. I hung up and called the other roommate again. Nice roommate tells me that creepy roommate took all the knives into the bathroom and locked himself in there. Now I'm furious. Like this guy was 23 years old, acting like a high school girl having her first breakup. I drove all the way back. I run upstairs into my apartment and knock on the door. He opens it slowly and I slam it open. I was pissed. I asked him what was so important that I needed to be home. He takes me downstairs to his car. This dude kneels down and opens the trunk of his car and there's a bouquet of flowers. And I'm like, no, I don't like you. He takes out a paper from his pocket and reads a poem he wrote. I leave this dude there and just get in my car and take off. Like I had been telling him almost every day to leave me alone, that I don't like him, that I do not want to date him, and he just didn't get the point. He reached out to me like 2 years after I left that apartment. I told him to leave me alone. He then called me trash and that I was the worst thing that ever happened to him. I hate nice guys. Story 2. I was in high school and figured I should give the guy a chance. Maybe I was just being snobby. Anyway, we decided to go to the movies. His older sister came along to chaperone and spent the movie sitting in my lap to make sure we didn't get up to anything funny. After the movie, I said I had to go home. Later that night, he called me crying to confess he'd snap a picture of me and whacked off to it. There was not a second date. Incidentally, this is when I began to have an inkling that I maybe liked girls. So it wasn't a total waste then. Story 3. I was a college freshman. First week of school, I was in my dorm hangout area going through the calendar on my phone to add exams to my schedule. I didn't realize that nice guy was looking over my shoulder as I was doing so. He goes, I see you don't have plans on Saturday. We're going to breakfast. I continually objected and said I just hadn't gotten around to adding anything to it yet. He wouldn't leave me alone about it all week, so eventually I agreed to go on Saturday. I was purposely on my worst behavior in an attempt to repulse him because clearly my opinion didn't matter otherwise. He ended the date by calling his mom, telling her that he met his future bride and that we were going to give her grandchildren. He handed the phone to me, so I straight up told his mother that I had no interest and was only there because he wouldn't leave me be, and apparently acting like a barnyard animal wasn't enough of a turnoff. His mom laughed and said, sounds like my boy. He would sit on the couch outside my dorm door to bombard me whenever I tried to go anywhere, followed me to and from classes for 2 months, and tried to befriend my roommate to get closer to me before moving on to a new target. She ended up with a restraining order against him. This was not my first interaction with this guy. He lived in my small dorm building, where we did multiple getting-to-know-you exercises that week. He helped a ton of people move in and was self-proclaimed nice guy, like the title had in quotes. Most people's first impression of him was that he was nice enough, but a little off. I clearly completely agree that the dude was creepy. Mom sounds like the kind of person who believes boys will be boys.
Hey there. If you haven't heard already, a few friends and I recently launched Rufus Rugs, your go-to destination for premium custom hand-tufted rugs. Looking to add a touch of your favorite anime like Naruto to your space? We've got you covered. Or perhaps you're a die-hard Pokemon guy and want bus toys showcased for everyone to admire. No matter your style, we can bring your vision to life. Click the first link in the description to explore more.
Story 4. I was that girl who loved the bad boys. My nice guy had been my best friend for a number of years and I always knew he liked me, but I was busy chasing jerks. 9 years we were best friends and grew up together, and he watched me pick all the wrong people and get hurt. Other friends kept telling me to give it a chance, etc. 2 years ago, he asked me to come over for dinner. It seemed fairly casual until I realized he'd asked me for Valentine's Day. I can't say I was guilted as such, but it still felt a little awkward. I was mega nervous thinking it was going to be so awkward, but when I turned up, it was fine. He cooked me a meal, bought flowers, a bottle of wine and chocolates, and lit candles on the table. I don't drink much, so he ended up getting through the whole bottle of wine because he was so nervous. But it was a lovely evening and things felt very natural, so I decided to give it a go. We're now headed towards our second anniversary, have a lovely home together, a beautiful but evil Egyptian Mao cat, and couldn't be happier. Because we were friends first, we know we got on. We finish each other's sentences and never run out of conversation. Yet to have one argument that goes beyond whose turn it is to wash up, lol. He is genuinely the best thing to happen to me ever. Sometimes the nice guy does win. Story 5. After a few years of tepid friendship, something was always a bit off about him, but I thought he was such a nice guy and I was just being judgy, plus he always claimed to be so in love with me. I agreed to a few dates with my friend. On one date, we went out with a whole group of couples to this state park a few hours away, and during the ride home, I dozed off. I woke up to him touching me under my clothes, and when I told him off, he twisted it around like I was being ridiculous and imagined his hand under my bra. Like, we're on a date, why was I being so weird, etc., etc., etc. When I told him I had to cancel our 4th date because I'd gotten grounded after accidentally setting the kitchen on fire, he hit me, mostly in the face. He spent the rest of high school periodically stalking me and my sisters, ranting and raving to literally everyone about how I just didn't understand and he loves me, so he's just so emotional with his true love for me that sometimes he acts without thinking. He's not like those other guys that would make comments about my appearance. Why did I have to be such a Stacy? He's the best friend I ever had until I ruined it all by willfully misunderstanding and refusing to hear him out or give him closure, and so on and on and on. What a nice guy, huh? Guess he tried to break into my bedroom window out of love and concern, eh? This was about 15-ish years ago. I've moved many times since then, and during a Google session a while back, I found out he was incarcerated for assault. Probably has a few more years to go. Story 6. Well, I might not be a girl, but I was the nice guy in my first relationship. I was meeting a girl whom I knew from a friend's girlfriend. At first, everything was nice, and we weren't having anything serious, just meeting like friends, playing paintball and billiard and so on. However, I really liked her, and she did recently break up, and I tried to cheer her up always. So then I asked her politely if she would consider trying a relationship, and to my surprise, she said yes. I was the happiest guy on earth on this day. So we started dating seriously, going to the cinema and doing stuff alone, but I don't know why, but I really got clingy. Like I wanted to see her all the time, I wanted her to come over to me, and it ended up creeping her out. In hindsight, I really understand, and she got continually creeped out until she broke up and I was devastated. I didn't force her to do anything, but as I said, I was a bit clingy. After that, I was depressed for over a year and then finally got my shit together. However, I am sorry that she had to experience me like that, and I also apologize for that, and now we're just normal friends. Not as good as before, but, well, all in all, it ended up being good for me since because of that, I ended up with my current girlfriend, and without seeing my failures from the past one, I wouldn't be able to hold this relationship. Hey, good on you for realizing your mistakes and actually working on improving yourself. Most nice guys never reach that stage and let their cringy, self-entitled hate fester. Just taking a moment to say thank you for watching. Please do give us a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Story 7. I'm a guy and gave a nice girl a chance. She was one of those, I'm not like other girls. We went out for a casual pizza and beer dinner. This was in college 12 to 15 years ago. She kept repeating what we now call memes like OMG, pizza's a lifestyle choice. Awkwardly charming the first time, but not funny and annoying the 10th time. She talked about herself the entire time. Most of it was humble bragging about her faults, like, it's just that I care too much about my friends, and I guess I'm just the type of person that's 100% honest and can't accept dishonesty in others. I could have left for 10 minutes and wouldn't have interrupted her conversation. It was like watching a one-person episode of the Gilmore Girls. We left separately and we didn't kiss or anything. The next day, over MSN Messenger, she asked when our next date was going to be, and I politely said I didn't think we had a connection. She messaged me for about 2 weeks after that with increasingly desperate things. It started with, pick any place and I'll buy, to feeling lonely tonight, want to come over for some fun, to mutual friend who set us up, and I are talking about doing things in bed and we need your opinion. A total lie, as I learned from the friend, to a picture of her cleavage. She started dating some other dude and the messages stopped. Story 8. I confided in a nice guy friend, Fred. Not even going to hide his name because this guy is a stage 1000 weirdo. So I told Fred how ripped off I felt and how I could not absolutely believe that I could not get over a relationship lasting only a month when I handled the breakup of my 3-year relationship a lot better. He listened to all my sorrows and said that I will get back on my feet someday. I didn't know he meant that he was the one to prop me back on my feet. I told him of the dirty tactics that my ex-boyfriend used to get me and how uneasy it had made me to know he was a wreck because of me denying our potential relationship. So Fred thought it would be genius to ask me out the same exact way my ex-boyfriend did. Gee, who would have thought that would work? Again, fool me once, am I right? At first, when I said no, he said he was only joking. He just wanted to see how I would react to his demands of him dating me. Yeah, okay, I'll just let that slide. He got creepier by saying things like, hey, how do you know when you love someone? I can't remember how I dealt with that situation, but I remember feeling very awkward. Anyway, he would say these things and let me stew in it. On the very last day of school, he wanted to hang out with me, which sounded like a little fun. Little did I know he had plans to confess his undying love for me. He leaned in for a kiss, which I blocked with my hand, asking, what is he doing? He sat there tearfully weeping, wanting to know why I would submit to one guy's demands of dating them, but not his. I had had enough of him by this time and told him not to talk to me anymore. He did the exact opposite of that, of course, would call my home phone a lot, send me a lot of emails, Yahoo days, and come up to my house once or twice unannounced. My mom played the role quite well of, my daughter is in trouble and can't talk to boys, so he enlisted his female cousin to contact me instead. I remember her telling me, Fred is really upset you won't give him a chance and said if you don't talk to him in the next 10 minutes, he will drive off of a cliff. Okay, whatever, dude, I've got other things to do. Long story short, he did not drive off a cliff, and after he was done stalking my friends and me, he eventually gave up and haven't heard from him since. Story 9. Wasn't really a date. I was on a hiking trip with my sister and other people from our village when we met a group of guys drinking and having fun. Was on Father's Day, so it wasn't an unusual sight. For some reason, my sister got into a talk with the guys and somehow got the both of us invited to the party at one of the guys' houses after. No big deal, we brought her boyfriend with us and were expecting a good time. My boyfriend was on a biking trip with his dad, so he couldn't come. So we arrive and nobody else is there. Guy says they will all arrive later and we're all early, 30 minutes after the time he told us to be there. And we start drinking, having fun and everything. He clearly has a thing for me, invites me to go on festivals with him. Sister's boyfriend tells me I would be stupid if I say no, and he would totally be going. The others arrive, and at some point the homeowner asks me to go out for a walk. He needs some air. We walk a bit, and suddenly he turns around, telling me I am the love of his life, the girl meant for him, most beautiful, smart, etc. he has ever seen. I was shocked and didn't know what to say except, I have a boyfriend, you know? He said he doesn't care, we were clearly soulmates, and then just kissed me out of nowhere. Tells me he would break up with his girlfriend for me, he never mentioned her before, and I should do the same. Luckily, my sister blacked out on the toilet and someone shouted at him for help unlocking the door, so we went back up. I took care of my sister, his girlfriend arrived, he pulled me aside and told me he would do it now, right here. I said no, and he told me to take my sister and leave, which I did then. He messaged me on Facebook the next day, cursing me and that I led him on and he almost broke up with his future wife for someone like me. I'll never understand the logic behind cursing a girl because she won't go to Pound Town with you. Story 10. He was genuinely nice, and I thought I was being too picky and maybe I could see through this if I took the effort of getting to know him. But every time I offered a contradictory point of view on any generic topic of discussion, he would proceed to casually mock my appearance, attire, and my personality in retaliation to my disagreement. That was the last day, obviously. Story 11. All my friends said a guy from our group of friends was very nice, even though I felt like he was a little creepy. Went out once and thought I'd give it a chance to be nice, regretted it immediately. He asked me what I thought of being in a relationship with him, and when I said no, I didn't want that because I wasn't very interested and we had only been friends before this, he said he was disappointed with my answer and expected something more worthy of him. He said that saying no was disrespectful. Big yikes. We met once after that because he surprise visited me a few months later. He asked me to ruffle through my hair because he wanted to feel my scalp, treated me like a dog, and wanted me to sit next to him so he'd be closer to me. He also thought it was a great idea to mention that he sometimes hears voices in his head and has dreamt of hurting people. I rushed him out of my apartment onto the street. I just wanted him to be gone. I checked my keys 5 times to see whether he took any. I've had to see him a couple of times since then, and he is the most creepy, socially inept person I've ever met. He's so aggressive and impulsive, I'm truly afraid he will hurt someone someday, and I'm still afraid that that person could be me. Story 12. We were friends in high school and most of college. It was one of those things where he was a friend of a friend, but we always went to the same parties, hung together in the same group, and so on. The guys in the group would always say things like, "Oh man, you and Kyle would be so great together. You should give him a shot." I'd kind of laugh it off because for the majority of the time I had a boyfriend. Eventually, my boyfriend and I broke up. About a week later, Kyle asked me out. I wasn't really ready, but I figured it was a first date and everyone had been pressuring me into giving this guy a chance, so I went. The whole evening was awkward. We just ordered a pizza and watched movies, which was what we did in our friend group anyways, but this guy would not stop staring. I felt like I couldn't even eat because I was under a microscope. The evening ended uneventfully, but then there was the aftermath. We kept texting and seeing each other in the friend group, and about a week later, he asked when we could have another date. I told him that maybe I had rushed into things too fast and I just wasn't feeling any connection with him. I broke up with my girlfriend for you. Yep, the dude found out I was single, dumped his girlfriend of 8 months just so he could ask me out to an awkward pizza date in his bedroom. The timely cherry on top is that they got back together and apparently I'm tearing their marriage apart because she found a bunch of texts from me from like 6 years ago and he admitted that he kept them because he still likes me. I haven't seen him in 4 years. I cringed so hard when he said he broke up with his girlfriend for you. Story 13. Not outright guilted, but found myself in the situation and couldn't back out. Bit weird at first given the circumstances of me distinctly not wanting to be there, but things gradually got weirder as the night went on. He made really intense eye contact and told me how he doesn't smoke or drink, just goes to clubs sober. He also told me about how he plans to stay in the country. He was a foreign student, but needs to settle down with someone here first. Then he told me he was really passionate, and my dumb ass asked passionate about what, and he just stared at me and repeated he was really passionate. It was a bad experience, and I'm more vocal about whether or not I want to be somewhere or do something now. I'm really passionate. About what? I'm really passionate. Reminds me of my conversations with Google Assistant. Story 14. Guilted into having a 1-year relationship with one. He was super nice at first and I was young and naive. He flirted and seemed nice and honest, so I thought, what the hell, why not give it a go? Big mistake. Realized quite quickly that he wasn't just for me. We had very different political views, very different opinions on things, and he was very degrading of me. Made fun of my weight, made me think I was fat. I was not at all, always had a healthy BMI, always had been sporty. But obviously being my young, teenage, and vulnerable self, that really crushed my self-esteem. So when I finally decided I had the balls to say, I don't want to be with you anymore, he guilted me into staying with him, saying, you'll never find a guy who'll love you like I love you, or if you leave me, I'll hurt myself, and all the rest of the typical reasons a nice guy will use to guilt you into staying. In the end, I ghosted him. We were supposed to meet up, but I never showed up. I changed my number, deleted social media for a couple of years, and moved out. Never heard from him again, which I am very pleased to say. I hope for your sake, you never do find another guy that loves you like he did. Thanks for watching the video. If you can give us a thumbs up and a subscribe, it would really help the channel out.